As we speak here on this Wednesday, March 11th, the Strait of Hormuz is still an active war zone for cargo ships and ships filled with oil and gas trying to exit in and out of the Persian Gulf. As today, numerous ships were hit by projectiles and set on fire. As still a war zone and still a very dangerous place for anyone trying to get goods in and out of the Persian Gulf. As always, joined by Mike Wixson. Mike, how are you?
Good, Jim. Thanks for having me in on this. This is really, I think, one of the major focal points of this war because it is a choke point, for a huge amount of shipping that goes through there. And after a very active 24 hours of bombardment from both sides, this, I think, seems to be the focus of everybody's attention today.
Well, it is for a number of reasons. Just real quick, 65% of the energy, gas and oil for South Korea comes through the strait, 72% for Japan, 50% for India. So those huge countries rely on it in such a big way, and it's a dangerous place. And it's oil, it's gas, it's sulfur, and that sulfur and sulfuric acid is key components in EV batteries, in transformers, and many other items. And 33% of the world's nitrogen fertilizer and feedstock comes through the strait. So as we get towards spring and planting season and seeding season,
and even some of these countries require it all year long.
That's right. It has huge ramifications. Now, Saudi Arabia, this is amazing to me. 45 years ago, they built a pipeline that hasn't been used until now to the Red Sea, just in case there would be a problem in the Strait of Hormuz. So Saudi Arabia, with some foresight, now has their ability to ship their oil to the Red Sea way away from the Strait of Hormuz and get it to market, which is something a lot of Canadians look at going, why couldn't we have done that years ago?
That was the first question that just popped into my mind. This sounds like even as an emergency backup, one of the smartest things a country could do. A lot of the countries that you named that are recipients of these shipments are already saying that they're on low reserves.
Very much so.
The fertilizer on low reserves, fuel certainly on, and oil, processed and unprocessed. These countries are in trouble already. Now, India mentioned, I think, 2 weeks ago that they're down to the bottom of the barrel. South Korea, same thing.
And here's a bit of the issue. It's such a narrow geographical channel. And we're talking about massive targets, these huge container ships and tanker ships for oil and liquid natural gas. It's not exactly difficult to hit them if you're trying to hit them with a projectile or grenade or missile or drone. So that has been brought up that should we escort them? Back in the day, in World War II, Canadian, British, and American ships would escort cargo ships through the North Atlantic to the UK, to Ireland and England. So they had supplies for the war effort. We may be at that point where Jim, we need warships to escort these cargo ships through the strait.
Would that work? The only thing that I think of when you mention that is that so much of this is air-driven, drone-driven, and precision bombing. Would that even work?
It would, because a lot of the modern warships have surface-to-air capabilities to neutralize a lot of the air-to-surface threats that they would face. Okay. So it's expensive. The missiles and ordnance they'd be shooting, the cheap drones, cost a lot of money. Yeah. But at least you wouldn't have basically a naked cargo ship going through the strait, a prime target to be hit. And unfortunately, the world needs the supplies that come through the Strait of Hormuz desperately.
And that means that if they're actually going to be guiding these ships through, the expense to do that is going to be shared probably among a couple of nations if that was the case. And, if it costs $5 million worth of missiles to get, $100 million worth of oil through, there's going to be some questions. There's going to be, I would imagine, some convoying going on.
Now, here's an interesting Canadian twist to the whole thing. On Tuesday in the House of Commons, when Mark Carney showed up, hey, Mark, it's Canada. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Nice. You remember us?
He sent postcards. That was nice. Yeah.
He said that Canada would have no offensive. He was quite deliberate about his words, no offensive role to join Israel in the United States in attacking Iran. Now, he didn't say anything about defensive. And we do have minesweepers, Kingston-class patrol vessel minesweepers. That could be an option because there's a danger and a concern about mines in the Strait of Hormuz. And it would not surprise me to find out that some of our minesweepers are sent to the Strait to clear the mines. And he could say, wait a sec, that's defensive.
Right.
I'm protecting cargo. I'm not attacking anybody.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Usually, Mark Carney tries to find a way into the hearts of everybody by making a speech about how Canada is participating in something or leading the way on something. And this was very different. That was a very different mode of communication with us. That was like, I'm not with Trump in this war.
Yeah. But after saying he was on day one, he said, but it was very interesting choice of words. We are not going to be involved in an offensive role. Now, here's the other thing. Right now, the Canadian military have no equipment modern enough to be involved in an offensive role.
That was my next kind of point.
Join Israel and the United States, but in a defensive role, in a protection of cargo ships, oil tankers, liquid natural gas, and freight going back and forth through the Strait of Hormuz, we do have that ability.
What do you think? Okay, so the current status is not a lot going through the Strait of Hormuz.
It's still not. It's nowhere close to even half capacity.
Insurance is through the roof for every one of these shipments
Absolutely.
going through. A shocking amount now, up to $500,000 just to get through that stretch.
Today's not going to help.
No.
And then with tankers being hit, I mean, the rates could change daily, Mike.
The other thing is you hit one of these tankers, I'm just guessing, and you seem to have some knowledge on this, Jim. Once they're hit, a lot of these are flammable, highly flammable cargo. So it doesn't take much to take one out.
Well, no, but think about a massive cargo ship full with liquid natural gas or crude oil is not exactly something I want to get hit with high explosive drones.
Yeah, a lot of nitrogen on some
yeah.
of the, like it just seems to me like a lot of dangerous, potentially dangerous and or toxic. Also, you sink one of these things, don't forget, the oil goes everywhere.
Environmental disaster.
It really is.
Yeah.
So not only is it going to drive prices up on things that we need to get our food, to get our fuel, to operate a nation, but also we're creating an environmental nightmare as this happens.
So just for an example, on February 28th, the day before everything kicked off, 98 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz on a normal day. And then everything kicked off. By March 1st, one ship made it through. And they're so desperate to get through there, they're turning off their identification transponders on their boat. Now, that's for navigation. So you can see on your radar that there's a massive, huge cargo ship full of crude oil maybe coming your way at night or in bad weather. There is a real desperation for the shipping companies, the crews to get in and out through there.
I was going to say there's probably a lot of pressure on human beings to do things right now they do not want to do.
Or would not want to do or being forced to do, Mike. And here's the other thing, too. Now it's having a huge roller coaster ride on the markets. Mm-hmm. Oil was $80 a barrel, 90, over 100, back down to 80, now pushing $90 a barrel, where the average consumer, the average Canadian, they're paying the price at the pumps. There's been reports about diesel close to $2 a liter, gas about...
Dan McTeague was on with us, and he predicted that we'd be at $2 for diesel by today, and he hit it right on the head.
Bang on. And you can go and look on our YouTube page and our feed to check his interview, and he's been 100% correct about diesel, about the price of it. And even I drove by a gas station to the studio, $1.60 a liter is pretty much average. Now, he said...
That's up 10 cents, by the way, in 2 days.
In 2 days. Now, it may go down around Thursday or Friday because the price of oil's dropped down. But with these tankers being hit, that could be temporary, and we could be back up again.
My estimation on this is that the price just continues to go up because the threat of tankers being hit now is enough to keep the price at a reserve price. And
this is where Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth and the inner circle, they did not think this through. They simply thought that they would do what happened before. They'd send this incredible wave of American air power, unlike anyone's ever seen, with stealth bombers and stealth fighters and this and that, and Tomahawk cruise missiles. But they're underestimating how many drones and how many missiles and the resolve of the Iranian people, the Iranian military and the Iranian leadership. They are being hit hard, and they're still hitting back.
Jim, I've said this before. I have a warehouse.
Right.
Do you know how many drones I can store in that warehouse?
Probably thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. Do you know where my warehouse is?
No.
Exactly.
Right.
This is the problem. They're up against, they're making an offensive on a country that's defense is, I think, meant to draw this out as long as possible.
The longer it goes, the worse it is for the American administration, for the world in general. You're seeing stories of countries around the world about what they're going to do for the price of heating oil, the price of gas, diesel. How is it going to affect us at stores and the grocery store? We're already dealing with the start of the year. They predicted the price of food in Canada, average Canadian would spend about an extra $1,500 to $1,700 on food before all of this and before the price of diesel rocketed. So now everything, we're staring at a spring, summer of everything we hold dear, just basic transportation, basic food, basic life, more expensive.
You know, Jim, I know that you're a dyed-in-the-wool Trump fan. So let me just illustrate something.
Maybe not quite.
Let me just illustrate something.
You prick.
Did he cancel your trip?
He did. So bad.
So let's just review this. The world's in turmoil over trade at the moment.
Yes.
The impact of that financially has been devastating already to so many countries, Canada included.
Yeah.
There is no end in sight to how we're supposed to be negotiating Kuzma and trying to figure out what happens in North America. Trump doesn't seem all that interested. He's got tariffs in mind. He's putting blanket tariffs out against the will of his own Congress
and Supreme Court.
And the Supreme Court saying you can't really do this.
Yeah.
He's going to find a way. At the same time, he's driving up prices in all the key areas again by going to war with a nation that has a great deal of firepower in the way of fuel, the Strait of Hormuz. I think you're right. They might have had an underestimation when they thought, oh, we'll kill the entire family of the Ayatollah and not leave his son behind.
And I had sent you the link earlier, Mike. The Washington Post did the math through Pentagon sources. The Pentagon burned through $5.6 billion worth of munitions in the first 2 days.
Oh, my God.
In smart bombs and missiles and everything. So it's expensive. When they're firing these $50,000 drones and you're firing a $5 million missile to knock it out.
You know how much my drones are?
No.
$89, Jim.
You're right.
I'll get a whole warehouse full of them.
But no,
you know where?
Where?
Exactly.
No, but that's the point. They could get a 3D printer, make cheap, one-time throwaway suicide drones and fire them at targets all throughout the Gulf. They could do that all day long. And the longer it runs and the more people are stressed about the price of fuel and the price of diesel and the price of everything else, and the lower Trump falls in the polls, the more pressure it's going to be for him to step out of there, whether or not they're finally successful or not, because Americans eventually are going to say, hey, stop this. We can't afford to live.
Well, at day 60, we shall see what Congress does, because he's got to go back and ask for money at that point when you've blown through $6 billion in 2 days.
And that's not including, that's the munitions.
That's
not,
Prince of Brunei shopping.
But that's not
numbers right there.
Not the fuel, not the logistics, not everything else that goes with it.
Just the firepower.
Just the firepower. Just the weapons to wage this war. And that's the big challenge now with everything happening in the Strait of Hormuz is how long will the world put up with what's happening and the cost to everyday people?
How do we renegotiate a safe use of the Strait of Hormuz at this point? The war continues on for 6 months. How do we manage that?
But that's who in the Iranian government would anyone trust? You could send a neutral UN negotiator there. Who do they speak with? Do you trust their word?
Oh, no, they're going to wait for a moment in the future where it's advantageous for them to make horrible strikes if we leave it the way it is. So what are the options then, Jim?
That's the question no one knows right now. This problem with the Strait of Hormuz and tanker wars dates back to the late 1980s. We're looking at almost 40 years of this, Mike. And the technology used to hit the tankers and hit the ships are getting cheaper and more sophisticated. So it's more and more dangerous to get this vital cargo through this tiny little piece of water than ever before.
Okay,
And I don't have any faith in Trump or Marco Rubio or Pete Hegseth actually negotiated a deal with a country they're just trying to bomb into the Stone Age.
Let's spitball for a second.
Okay.
We get to month 3. Many nations now desperate for the supplies that make their way through the strait. We have no resolve. There's a government still in power in Iran that is not negotiating.
No.
What choice does the rest of the world have with Trump waging this war, with Israel waging this war? What do we do?
No one can tell them to stop. No one has the muscle to tell them to stop.
Well, Netanyahu's been aimed at this for 40 years. Trump jumped into it in 40 minutes.
Right.
And the plan seems to be, no pun intended, exploding on them.
And every day when you hear a press conference or a spin or an explanation, it makes less and less sense. Yeah. It makes zero sense. At the end of this, there'll be nothing but casualties. No one's going to win this.
Okay, so we can't use the Strait of Hormuz. What do we do?
Well, I mean, Saudi Arabia is shipping all their oil because they're smart, because they built a pipeline 4 decades ago to the Red Sea. Now, we as Canadians have a liquid natural gas facility in BC. That helps. We do have one pipeline to the lower mainland of BC, but more so than ever, this should be the call to arms, the call to action for Carney and all levels of government to build another oil pipeline to northern BC. And I know Wapkanu and Manitoba are hot to trot to rebuild the Churchill port and build a liquid natural gas facility on Churchill and Hudson Bay and have it shipped to Europe.
You know what else? Let's learn a lesson here.
Yes.
Let's get ahead of this. Let's not wait for a world event to impact us before we react.
And before we have the
Look at
infrastructure.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. No, but
they were ready.
4 decades ago, they put the infrastructure in because when they did it, there was the tanker war.
Yeah.
So in the late 80s, they thought oil's too important to our economy and to our country to risk it. So they built the pipeline just in case they'll need it. And now they need it now, and it's ready to go.
Good news is we're in the EV game. Not that we can get any of the materials that we need. Thanks, Jim, for getting me through this.